Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about another should I fire this programmer questions. So let's get into it. So the question in question here is basically, should I fire this programmer? I think that this time that the programmer had, what did they say? I have a programmer who worked for 4 days on a simple HTML and CSS button. Should I fire them? Well, I don't really have the context for this, and I never really have the benefit of it's very rare that I hear I don't have a lot of background on the people who ask this sort of stuff, but I will say what I usually do in this. It depends, because if you're telling me that you hired a programmer that could not, if we're thinking about like the simplest case in the world here, we're saying that there is a programmer out there who could not put a button this is the problem, right? I don't know if this is the whole truth. Is it really just an HTML and CSS type of solution, or is it using frameworks? Is it using there's tons of things that could have make this more complicated, but it's in its absolute essence. If it really was, the person couldn't really put the button and some CSS on top. There is no way in my universe it's not possible it's beyond me that somebody would take 4 days to do a basic styling of a button tag. How are they even working at your company if that is the case? How is it even possible that this person passed the bar at your for your coding test? They should have been they should never have gotten a job in the first place, because taking that long, it sounds so unreasonable that it's almost hilarious. Even if you were to have just the absolute basic of knowledge when it comes to CSS and HTML, it would take you less than 4 days to Google the solution to doing this and almost, well, not copy paste, but nearly copy paste in the solution. So it sounds to me like this is a bit of it cannot be that simple. It does not compute that this is possible. So that leaves us with this unknown type of situation where, okay, well, what is the actual specifications? So now I want to reverse it and ask, okay, if you think that what they did was to style a CSS or HTML button in 4 days, then maybe there's more going on. Either they were literally, maybe you are absolutely correct. Maybe it was just that they took 4 days and, I don't know, they spent 3.5 of them, or 3 of them at least, on doing other things. Don't know what those things would be. Helping other coworkers, researching things, fixing legacy that is already within the system, because that's also something that is fun. Because if the assumption is that, all right, no, they just styled a button on a greenfield project, well, of course, this is, as I said, it sounds weird. It sounds to the point where, if this was true, then they should never have, they're not even there's no programming going on here. This person doesn't know how to do anything. This is the absolute basics. But if there's a legacy system or something like that, that adds a bit of complexity to the situation, and it's on a case-by-case basis. If you have an entire page of global mutating CSS styles, getting a button to work exactly the way that you want might actually be very tricky, but it's hard to say. Because I don't know what I don't know the experience level of this person, and I don't know what the context is, like what type of situation were they styling this button in, because those things do actually matter. But as I said, like reversing this, if and this again, I don't know if you're a manager or if you're just hiring a programmer, like a freelancer or whatever. If you're hiring a programmer, and if you are correct about this, then I want to ask you, how the hell did you figure out that this was a programmer in the first place? Did you just take them at their word or something? I'm not sure. The other aspect is, if I went to that programmer and I asked, okay, why did this take so long? And they actually show me very clearly that, oh, we have all of these legacy issues. And if this is an experienced programmer, then you are the problem. And this isn't the first time I've heard this sort of question where some person who, I really do hope that you're not a manager at some big IT company, because in the first place, asking should you fire this person or not, you should pretty much know. I mean, if you're an experienced developer, an experienced manager of IT people, you should pretty much know the rough amount of time it takes to achieve a certain goal. I'm not saying that you should have a technical understanding, but I mean, if you were to give it to the next person in the team, how long would they have taken? I mean, that's an easy way for you to check it. If you give the same sort of task to the next person and they roughly achieve it in the same sort of time, then you should fire yourself. Then you are a risk. I mean, 4 days, yes, that is a lot of time for doing something that is described in the exact way that you are describing it. But as I said, I can't. It doesn't sound feasible. I mean, it is possible that you are correct, but it sounds so alien. I mean, it's like you would have to try really hard as a programmer or have absolutely no knowledge to not be able to do this in the worst case scenario that you are describing. But it's more likely that the situation was more complicated than you thought. That's my guess anyway, and that you are the problem in this scenario. That your perception of you don't have enough of an understanding of what it is that this person is achieving or what they're trying to do to actually to make the call. And I'm guessing that's why you asked me in the first place. So what I want you to take away from this is that, well, if it is true that what you're saying is true, that's 100% true, fire them immediately, or they should have never been hired because they're not a programmer. This is the most basic possible thing that a person doing I don't know a single programmer who does any web work who could not achieve this goal. But maybe the button was amazing. Maybe it was the most sophisticated button of all time. I don't know. But as I said, it's more likely that due to the nature of the project, due to there's a bunch of factors that play in on how long a story actually takes to a task takes to complete. It's more likely that it was more complicated than what you're describing, and that you as a manager, you completely lack the perception. Holy shit, you're a risk to the company if that's your mindset. If you don't know enough to figure out how well your programmers are roughly performing in comparison to each other, or in general, then why are you, as I said, why are you a manager? You should, how will you warn if you have a bad programmer in your team if you don't even know how long a task should roughly take? You don't have to know everything about the system or be an expert, but some basic understanding of how to achieve a task is kind of required to manage people, I would say, because otherwise, you might be stuck with some of the most unperformant programmers in the industry, and in order for you might actually cause real harm to the company if you're not getting rid of these people. But in order for you to confidently know this and actually act on it, you have to trust your own judgment here. You have to be able to, in a fairly accurate. You're firing somebody is not a trivial thing. It creates waves, it creates uncertainties, it has impact within the company. So you have to be really sure that you are accurate on this, that you know that this is the best thing for the company to get rid of this person. But if you are, get rid of them, because that is the most basic task I can imagine. Have a great day.